Order submitted.
Okay, so got an order submitted, not an RTY though. So working on a possible fill here in ES. NASDAQ, we can see, like I was saying, the majority of the activity took a brief jaunt. So what, 1, 2, 3, 4 entire 3-minute periods, and then part of 2 others. Aside from that, everything else has been roughly in the upper portion of that opening push. So potential for a ES short. Market's just on the
Order submitted.
Okay, so just now filled. So I'm just going to put the stop just above the high of this recent push. And I'm going to look for a bigger target down to potential support. That can be moved at any time, obviously. And so we'll see how this develops here. At the moment, though, filled and now immediately bouncing. So hopefully not a loss, but we'll see. YM also, if you just check that on another screen. I'm not running it just because of the order issues I had, but YM, if you have your trade you later line activated, then you likely have an order filled in YM at the moment. Still nothing in RTY, and NQ is just still doing its thing. So not enjoying this at the moment. The market's not all that far away from our stop now, so really not
Order
cool.
submitted.
RTY, we just got an order submitted. And so we'll see if this market wants to relent. Then we may have something to work with here as well. So ES kind of showing us the top edge, and hopefully we don't get a stop on that. This is NQ, so just really, really tight. We can see the elasticity of the market has really tightened up. And so if this will continue to, or if this will resume a downward move, then we could see an expansion downward, and that would really most likely result in large targets for these potential shorts. But at the moment, if we don't, then we'll get a stop out in the ES, we'll get no fill here, and we'll be looking at possibly getting a short on the NQ if it can push up to the edge-minder zone. So that's kind of where we're at. And the ES is still making life difficult at the moment.
Order submitted.
All right, so RTY must have just softened up. So just going to place my stop just beyond the high here. So now we've got 2 looking at a potential rush to the downside. And again, it seems like if the NQ can give in, then the others feel okay about doing it. But if not, the others are all obeying the lead of the NQ. So 1265.4 is my fill in RTY. And that was just according to Trade Your Leader getting the fill. So market's just basically hovering at the entry at the moment, just now starting to see a little
Order
cooperation.
filled.
So got the small target filled in RTY. ES showing just a wink of cooperation basically at the entry. And NQ beginning to show a little bit of a give. And YM still levitating here. So small target filled in RTY. Would like to move this to the entry. If we can get just a little bit more cooperation, that's always the thing, right? So NQ, as I had mentioned before, showing a potential for pushing upward, but so far showing some weakness. ES again back near the entry. RTY still hasn't. I'd like to see this expand downward, and if so, then move my stop to my entry. But as time drags on here, I'm going to put it at my entry regardless, and perhaps just make the small target, and that's it. I'll give it a couple more seconds probably. YM waking up to the upside. ES still no fill on that small target, which is only 8 ticks. So now moved it to only 5, but now it's starting to look back upward. ES barely moving upward, but the market's very sensitive. And RTY still near the entry. So, having to earn it here. So I move my small target closer in ES. So it's at 28.48 even. So that's only a 5 tick. So 62.50 per contract on the small target. I'll still look for the big target, and this may wake up to the downside. That'd be great.
Order filled.
So starting to see a little bit of an expansion below. I'm still going to wait just a little bit. And if the ES can commit more to the downside, I think these others will feel like they have the full green light. ES still hovering right at the entry. Would like to see this blossom into a full-blown effort here. So this is the point in the trade where you hate to get out of the way of what could become a nice winner, but you also hate to unduly, you don't want to get in that category where you start hoping. You have to trade what you see. And so it's like if this is a bearish scenario and we get a trigger and the bid is in a position where it's supposedly weak, if it is weak, then why is it that the price is so resilient? And so obviously this is a dynamic environment. You can get a trigger and then things can change 10 seconds later or shorter. And so that's why you look for kind of like that time period where if you've got cooperation and the circumstances are right for cooperation, then when it doesn't happen, you realize, okay, maybe that's a call to action on my part. And so I have not answered that call to action so far. My stop's still at the initial risk position, way up at 28.54 in ES, and way up at 12.69.3 in RTY. Had a little bit of a bigger small target fill in RTY, but now the market's taking another look at the entry. And NQ is slow to give in, but isn't exactly rallying. We can see kind of the comfort zone that it created. Comfort zone. And it just edged above it, but so far is slow to give in, but certainly wants to be back inside of this zone where it spent most of its time today. It took a small jaunt, 4 full periods and parts of 2 other periods outside of this comfort zone, and then here we can see parts of 4 periods. But all in all, not a whole lot of success when pushing upward and trading up there. And so just looking at the possibility of this giving in, but it sure feels like a what's a really long boxing match? I don't watch boxing, but there's that expression, is it 12 rounds? We're going 12 rounds. That's what it feels like. And now it's waking back up, so I swear this ES is going to be, yeah. So our ES is really just about to stop out on the other portion. So this will be, if stopped out, we'll have lost about 5.5, almost 6 points on half the position and only picked up 1.25 points on the other half. So that's not a pretty proposition. And so thankfully, micros are very liquid. If your budget, whatever your budget is, you can scale your position to match. If you have a big account, you can still, obviously, you want to not risk a ton on each trade. And you can just scale down your quantities in view of the size of the stops. If you have a small account, you can just dice it up into micros and still do very well and give yourself a chance. If you have a small account, you can still pick up a good percentage of your account each day if you're careful with your quantities in the micros. All right, so RTY, I have given it just about all the time you can stand to give something. I think I'm looking for this support zone, but I also need to be aware of reality. YM being very, very stingy. So I think I'm going to move my, I want to just see if it can take out some of these lows, and if so, I think then I will. And so I'm just going to give it just a little bit more time. So kind of looking at those lows now. ES has not been kind. Checking back in on NQ, still tight, tight, tight. Very minimal expansion. We had that large range, that push up. Stops going at the entry in RTY. All right. So if it can continue to give in, that'd be great, obviously. But the stop's fairly close, 65.4. The market's 63, mid 63s. ES still 1.5 points or so off of the entry. And NQ, really, we could just watch the NQ, because if that's able to take out any of these recent lows and start to expand downward, we'll start to see some, I think, massive cooperation in the others. So, is anyone short YM? I've left YM alone just because my orders were all tangled up and it was not putting things where they belong, and the quantities were mixed up. And so I've just left that alone. But did anyone trade YM? I know it. I mentioned earlier that it would have triggered. So I've got it on NQ just because the market seems so sensitive to NQ. So ES back to the entry. RTY's playing ball. That's nice. And I am just about wore out on ES. If it, I'm so tired of it. It's like I want to just take it off at the entry here and not deal with it. But sometimes when you're at that point of exhaustion, that can be the moment where you're about to get paid. And so I'm just going to chill out. All right, so starting to see a little bit of cooperation. It's just now reached the initial small target, which I didn't take. I moved my target closer. And now kind of the same thing as with the RTY. You just don't want to jam it and basically wait all that time and then get stopped out at your entry. But I am fully done being patient with ES.
Order filled.
Okay, so I closed it. That's basically a scratch trade. I closed it. I don't want to find out the hard way and have it come back and cost me a bunch of points. So I picked up a smaller than usual small target and then just scratched the trade at, I think, negative 2 ticks. And so overall, that trade has come and gone and basically just kind of paid nothing or close to it. And so here,
order filled.
RTY just stopped out. So got a decent small target in RTY. Did not shift that closer to the market. And so able to pick up a decent small target in RTY, picked up a 5 tick small target in ES, and then eventually just lost patience with the whole scenario and left it alone. If a new trigger emerges, I'll just reactivate this. And here we are. It's 11 o'clock, I just noticed. And so, does anyone have any questions before we close today? And here's the ES coming in. Just great. And I probably got stopped out at my entry in RTY, and now it's right back down. So, as I was saying earlier, yep, everyone enjoy more time at the house, right? So please stay safe. I know some people are losing their patience and going out. Just be safe, whatever you do, please. Let's see here. Yep, Laura, I'll be glad to help. No problem. All right, thank you. You as well, Nigel. Appreciate it. Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Rich. Sujay, thanks for your comments, and everyone trade safely. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the room, and everyone, we'll be back Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody then. I'll go ahead and close it now. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.